Alright everybody, it is 8 o'clock and the day is October 10th. I'm here to give you a little bit of an update in regards to the severe weather outbreak that's taking place in the southern plains and what we're expecting for severe weather in southern Michigan, around Indiana, different places like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this little video here. Looks like it's going to be a week-long severe weather outbreak for many different regions of the United States. Our target time is Monday and possibly on Thursday if models tend to hold together. I have to look at those a little bit more. But for now, if you look at this, I have all of the connection info here for Great Lakes weather. You can scan that QR code to see if you're not connected with us in some way yet. Or if you're watching on desktop, you can scan that QR code and make sure you get access to all of our different ways to get connected. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Remind. The Remind stuff is a little bit outdated on this slide here, but I'll modify it later on. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, Remind. You can find that on our website by scanning that QR code. Alright, so with that, I'm going to show you what is happening in real time right now. This is the basically the eastern half of the U.S., and right now there is a moderate risk for severe weather taking place down in the Oklahoma region, Texas, those different areas. So the southern plains are really getting slammed with severe weather right now. Places like Kansas, Oklahoma, northern Texas. The tornado watch was just issued for Texas. They're expecting intensification of this line right here. So let's zoom in on this, take a quick look. My radar scope app isn't functioning properly, so we can't really get a really detailed look at what's going on. This supercell right here is the cell that was forecasted by all the models. So this one has been pretty much trucking all the way across Oklahoma so far, even through southern Oklahoma City right now. There has been a tornado reported with this supercell. We're going to take a look at a little bit of the warning information that's here. A tornado has been reported 4 miles south-southwest of Anadarko. So the tornado is still on the ground. This is going to be a long-track tornado. All the models projected this supercell to produce something extreme, pretty much significant. 3-inch hail has been reported. It's a very high precipitation supercell, so this thing is just trucking. All this activity that's developing out off to the southwest is what's going to be traveling up towards our direction tomorrow. And it looks like the storms will re-intensify later on and possibly drop a couple tornadoes in northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan, even places in central Indiana too, and Illinois. So I'm going to go into the models now to give you a bit of a deeper look as to why that might be the case. So this is the risk they have out for tonight. Moderate risk, pretty significant risk of tornadoes here in central Oklahoma. And the jet that is fueling this, we're going to take a look at, that it's going to be moving in our direction, which is why there's cause for concern that these storms could drop some discrete supercells and perhaps a few tornadoes. So let's go to tomorrow's outlook. Slight risk for western Michigan, western side of the lower peninsula, parts of the upper peninsula, including St. Ignace, then western Indiana. All these places could see the potential for tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail. All different types of severe hazards will be possible with this storm. The mid-level, the jet that we have in the mid-level is just ridiculously strong. 80 knots of a mid-level jet, and then we have all kinds of different upper level winds that we're going to be working with, and it's influencing all of these storms to produce very large anvil type cumulonimbus clouds with a lot of vertical wind speeds through them, which is why there is cause for concern in regards to the potential for tornadoes. So we're going to look at the actual models now. We're looking at the NAM and the HRRR models. These two models usually are the best for forecasting different types of severe weather. So let's get right to it. This is at 7 p.m. on Sunday, so a little bit of an hour ago. You see in central Oklahoma, you have this jet here. You have these mid-level winds. This is at 700 millibars, so it's in the middle, around the middle of the atmosphere. So you see these winds up to 57 knots, 39 knots. The yellows indicate wind speeds above 60 knots, so you can see a little bit of hints of yellow inside that jet. And this jet stream is following a line from northern Washington to southern Texas up through the Great Lakes. So what's happening here is usually around this time of the season we see the jet stream stay on a more northward trend, and that's not the case with what's happening this week and possibly a little bit next week as well, is that the jet is just dipping south and dipping south into Texas and lifting off towards the Great Lakes up back into Canada. And that's providing this short wave with this trough here that's bringing a lot cooler temperatures to this region with quite a bit of opportunity to influence the weather patterns and also potentially produce severe weather, which it already is in many different areas of Oklahoma. Watch how the winds change. They really intensify right about here in the eastern half of Oklahoma, 80 knots, 70 knots. So this mid-level jet, let's take a look at the upper levels as well. Slide that back over to where we were at. The upper level winds also with this jet are following very similar patterns, not as strong, 84 knots. So pretty much the mid-levels and the upper levels have wind speeds of 80 knots. So those combined wind speeds are making it very favorable for severe weather development. All right, we're going to go back to the mid-levels now and take a look at that intensifying mid-level jet. So what we're seeing is it's going to continue to basically progress off to the northeast through Illinois in time for that severe weather event in Illinois. Basically, these storms are just going to continue to progress right ahead of that trough there with that cold front, and this jet is going to just fuel their potential for severe weather, and it's just going to carry on through and through up into Michigan, where some more intensification of the jet might take place. Starts to weaken a little bit, but it'll re-intensify a little bit as it progresses into Michigan, and then it moves out. So that's where we're going to see our big storms for Indiana and Michigan around that time. So that's actually at 11 p.m. Monday night. So 11 p.m. Monday night is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. The major threat for severe weather is actually expected to begin a little bit after 6 p.m. Monday, but it'll go pretty much overnight as this trough just continues to truck off to the northeast. And then something else to watch for is, see this out here? This is another trough that's also producing a lot of mid-level shear. So this is the next thing we're going to have to keep an eye on in regards to where it travels and whether it will make the drive across the United States all the way up into the Great Lakes region, because it looks like, according to the Storm Prediction Center, that this jet here could produce severe weather all in this plains region. So that's going to be the next thing we're going to have to keep an eye on after this storm that's going to move through the area tomorrow. All right, we're going to move to the actual radar right now. This is the radar at the current time of 8 p.m. So you can see that nice discrete line of supercells that is progressing in Oklahoma, Texas, parts of Kansas, and it's kind of forming a little bit of a line of thunderstorms along that cold front in Iowa. These storms are going to continue to move off to the northeast, and now we are approaching Monday morning. This is Monday morning right here. The supercells start to arrive in Illinois. Let's move to a more regional map to get an idea of these storms. All right, so what are the models saying? We are going to... All right, so this is around, I'd say, the afternoon on Monday. You have a nice discrete line of you have just basically scattered thunderstorms. Some of these are likely severe. If I get a sounding, it'll show us the possible hazard types associated with this, tornado hazards. And what this graph here shows is the different temperatures at different levels of the atmosphere, and different temperatures will have an influence on the potential for severe weather, as well as the winds, how the winds change throughout. And if you look at the base of this storm, the base of the atmosphere, you can see the winds are just pulling upwards. These little hash marks here and where the lines are pointing indicate just vertical pull up into the atmosphere, and it's basically going all along this graph. So favorable for tornadoes, according to this graph here. So that's why they're forecasting the possible hazard type of the tornado. The NEM is putting out possible hazard for that. So we're going to keep moving forward. This is at about 3 p.m. Monday, or 5, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. So it looks like by 7 p.m. we're going to see some discrete supercells moving through areas such as Indiana. If I get a sounding of central Indiana, what do I see? Marginal tornado risk, so it's a little bit less. I want to look at that temperature graph again. Still plenty of vertical pull into the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And you can see right at that mid-level, or going up to that high level, you can see the temperature just drops significantly as we go into higher levels of the atmosphere. So that's going to have an influence on the strength of our storm as well. So let's take a look at what happens as these storms continue to move up to Michigan. The low pressure system seems to deepen again. And NAM is actually putting out that these storms might weaken by the time they reach Michigan. So that might be some good news. That's different from what they showed earlier. Since severe hazard types are showing none. There's still a lot of vertical pull in the atmosphere, but with the loss of sunshine and instability, Cape is kind of down. So a little bit of a good news situation, but I do think we may not be out of the woods. I'm going to compare that to the HRR model to see if that's what they're saying. We're going to backtrack this NAM map real quick. Alright, we're going to go to the severe weather dynamics. I'm going to go to a single image map. That way it'll stop messing around. We're going to go to about the time these storms start to form, start to reach our area. Let's take a look at the dynamics of this severe weather threat. Alright, so supercell composite. What's our potential for supercells in any given area? Looking pretty low for southern Michigan, really looking more favorable in areas such as eastern Illinois, western Indiana, places like that. But as we continue northeastward, it looks like there's still a little bit of a chance for some supercells in Michigan, Indiana, even parts of Ohio. I really don't think this threat will make it far enough out into Ohio to cause any problems because the low pressure system is going to start to lift north as it moves through our area. So that's some pretty good news for anyone living in the Cedarville area where I was just at recently. So we'll keep a track on that threat for Thursday, and maybe you'll see some storms then. But let's compare that to the HRR. The HRR seems to show a little bit more of a robust development of supercells in a given region. If I get a sounding for the threat for severe weather, again, tornado threat, it's also showing vertical lift in the atmosphere, plenty of vertical lift to support the potential for severe weather. This LCL line here, you see, that indicates where the base of a storm cloud will be, and that base of that storm cloud will have a great determination on how likely tornadoes will form. So it's a little bit higher than it shows on the NAM, which is good news because it'll take a lot more for a tornado to drop from the base of a cloud to the ground. So still showing vertical lift, still showing that pretty significant temperature change. So hazard type appears to be tornado again. So let's get a sounding for Kalamazoo County. That's really where base of operations is. Also favorable for tornadoes. More vertical lift, CAPE of up to 2,000. CAPE is a measure of instability in the atmosphere, so that'll possibly influence what we see as well. But HRR seems to forecast that these storms don't hold together either. Let's get the most recent images if we can. And we can't really. Yeah, we'll have to wait another hour before we get better images. But yeah, it's gonna be later when we get those images. But I'll go back to the 18Z. If I still get a sounding, I still want to get a sounding of this region. Let's go to St. Joe County this time. Hazard type has gone down. The vertical winds still exist, but the base of the clouds are much higher than in the storms before. CAPE is really low, so It's a very conditional threat, and it'll definitely be very variable. I'm going to be trusting the models on this to see what may actually come about from this. We're just going to have to see what happens, but as of right now, there is potential for tornadoes and other types of severe weather in Michigan, and that's what I'm making this video about, so it's what we're keeping an eye on. So this is basically a future radar just showing the potential for how these storms will move into the area. So real rapid intensification in Oklahoma City, Missouri. You got these storms that are moving off to the northeast, redevelopment in Illinois, which is what's forecasted. So, and these storms will carry on, and this map is also showing signs of some pretty good weakening. So, this risk area that they're putting out may be modified later tonight. So maybe the slight risk might be moved off a little to the west, maybe a little off to the south, because models really aren't showing a huge as big of a potential for severe weather as they did before. So all that's going to be determined by the models we get coming soon. So hopefully this video was informational, provided plenty of information regarding the incoming severe weather threat that we will be facing this tomorrow evening, and I will possibly do another video regarding Thursday's severe weather threat if one tends to crop up. So hopefully this video was helpful to you, and I will see you guys later on if another severe weather threat develops. Have a good evening.